Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about whether or not owning a driving school is a full-time commitment or a part-time hustle. I want to give you some pros and cons of both. Just kind of a little disclaimer. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm full-time committed into it. A lot of people look at it maybe as a side hustle. Maybe you might look at it as a full-time commitment. Now, I'm not referring to if you go and get your uh, license to be an instructor, you work for someone else, maybe part-time hours. That part is going to be another video. This is actual ownership, being an entrepreneur. Um, some people want to do it as a side hustle, some people don't. So, what I'm really looking for you today is a better understanding in which direction, what to expect. Keep in mind, when I first started 6 years ago, no one told me what to expect. And so hopefully these videos that I've posted on my YouTube channel for different reasons, different topics, that you kind of get a better idea of what to expect. As I mentioned before, I went into it totally blind, and I came out, but it was a lot of hard work, a lot of trial by fire, a lot of mistakes made, a lot of mistakes that were avoided. So it all worked out for me. But today, I just want to kind of give you some ideas, and hopefully at the end, like I said, you'll have a better understanding. So let's talk about full-time commitment. Pros, okay, being in your own business. Wow, that's the whole purpose of starting a business, is to be in business for yourself. You get all the profits, depending on how your company's structured. If you're a sole proprietor or LLC, maybe it's more profitable, more profit you can make for your family, maybe put up for retirement, things of that nature. Teaching students, whether they're adults or teenagers. I prefer teenagers myself. That's just my niche. It's neat to see them, maybe scared to death the first day. Here in our local state, we have to have 6 hours with them, three 2-hour sessions, and so you get to see them at the very first day, and they're scared, they're nervous, they just don't know what to expect, and then by the third day, they're really, getting comfortable. Some of them are really good drivers afterwards, and it's really neat to see the transformation that a student goes from day one to day two to day three. Your key there is day one. If you can get the kids or the teenagers or the adults, anyone, to trust you and to kind of be at ease with you and kind of just let you, teach them, you got it made. You got it made the second, third day. Especially if you're dealing with teenagers, and after the first day, they come back to their parents and they're excited. They've did well and they're very eased, and the parents are at ease, so they're not going to give you any trouble. Okay, now, yeah, occasionally you will have some trouble with parents, but nothing major. Okay, parents, I'm going to put on both pros and cons. We're going to start into the parents would be a pro, and I'll work with you on the cons part later. Pros, as I just mentioned, they're excited for their child. They're when they come back from the first day of being nervous, and they may have maybe they've gotten up to 25 miles an hour and they've never even seen the gas pedal before today, the first day, and so they're excited, and so the parents are excited. And if you go through the 3 days and that they're excited for you and you're excited for them, and everything as far as the teacher, the student, then the parents are going to really sing your praises, so to speak. Um, this leads into my next thing, is word of mouth advertising. I've posted on other search engines, platforms, and I've did advertisement, all kinds of different ways. But to be honest with you, word of mouth advertisement is your best and most reliable type of advertisement. So just like I said with the parents, they sing in your praises. Well, they may have two or three other kids that are younger. They'll definitely use you. Won't matter where you're located, they'll find you. Okay, or their child has two or three friends that haven't had driver's ed, or they haven't, they're scared to death to drive. They don't know where to turn. Well, the parents going to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we've got this guy here at Metroline Driving Academy, and he is awesome. You got to go to him." And the people, go to me regardless. But because I've had great experience with the previous person, it works. And so that's how I build my rapport with the community. Is wow, go to Metrolina. He's going to take care of you. He'll walk you through everything. He made my daughter or son at ease, and he taught them how to drive. And then too, at the end of the day, let's just face it. At the end of the day, this last one is pretty self-explanatory. It's a feeling of accomplishment. Okay, I've provided a service for the community. I've provided a service for your student. I've provided, and we went from not seeing the gas pedal to 2 or 3 months later getting your permit, learner's permit, or your license, depending on which. And then you coming back to me, "Hey, Mr. Cook, how are you? Thank you so much," or they'll send you a picture of them holding their license or something like that you can use for advertising. But it's a feeling of accomplishment. I've accomplished something outside of my regular family. I've accomplished this, and it's really a good feeling. Okay, so the cons. There's not as many cons with the full time that I personally see, but you can add on to this list. Cons, expense. Wow, because you're doing it yourself. Now, compared to other types of businesses, I would think starting a driving school would be relatively inexpensive. With the cars and the side brakes, some states require the extra steering wheel on the passenger side. Some have different other requirements that I'm not familiar with. The class I mentioned earlier in some of my videos, you have an 80-hour course, so you got to sit through that, and you got to find time for that, and things like that. But the expense of it, I think I started out probably spending about $8,000, close to it, which is not a bad. I did it sporadically, so it wasn't as like I spent $8,000 today, and there I was in business. That's not the way it worked. It took me a year to get into the class, and then from end of April of that year that I finished, till July 24th, I paid different fees. You have to get a fire inspection, and here locally, so that was $125. Things of that nature. I wanted to take a video, make a video of this expense list and another video so that you kind of get an idea. But it's expensive, and then you've got your own home bills to take care of as well. And then remember, parents were cons, pros and cons. Well, this is on the cons list. Well, sometimes parents will want the best for their child, and that's certainly the way I am as well. But they want their permit yesterday, and it's just physically physically impossible. And so they get kind of frustrated with you, and it's because they can't tell their son or daughter no, that hey, you can get your permit a month later, and then your 15th birthday here in our local state, you get your permit at 15 if you can. But because of the backlog that we've had every all 6 years, it's tough to do, to time it just perfect. The way I kind of cure that is I offer them another date or two, but also offer them another time slot that I know that 8 out of 10 students won't like. and I may offer, especially during the summer, during the winter, a 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. slot. Well, that would mean the mom, if it was the mom, would probably just drops them off. Um, it would probably mean that they would have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and usually the parents say, that their son or daughter can take finish driver's ed, get their permit a month later. It's not as important to them as they thought. Now the other two will accept the 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and it's only 3 days, 3 mornings. It's tough if you're not a morning person like I am. I'm not a morning person at all. But it can be done. You get them out of the way. They're happy. They're still singing your praises. Remember, word of mouth advertising. But then again, when you offer them 6 a.m. time slot and it's not as convenient, at least you can say, "Well, I've give you these other dates. I've tried, and at that point, they thought, okay, this company has tried to work with me, and unfortunately, it didn't happen." So it takes the sting away. Okay, it's a slow start, as I mentioned just a minute ago. I finished the class April 30th, and that year, and it wasn't until July 24th I got my business license and my instructor license. So it's a process. As I said before, you got to get the city out here. You got to get the fire department. You got to get physicals. You got a criminal check you got to run. You got to get a car. You got to get the side brake. You got to get any mechanical issues you got to take care of. You got to get inspected by the DMV here locally, not just for your tag, but just for the DMV rep wants to see everything. Then they come out to your office / classroom, whatever you have. Then they measure, and then they say you can only, like this particular classroom I'm sitting in here, I think 37 I can fit in here. Really, to be honest with you, probably 25 to 27 would be probably max in here at this local location. And then they'll measure your office, and because there's certain square footage that instructor has to have, a certain square footage that the students have to have, and then it's a real big process. Some of you can get faster, started faster, and make more money. With me in particular, I'd missed the really rush of people. So you can't advertise or anything like that until you get your license in your hands. So I waited, and by the end of July, you're looking at 2 weeks, maybe first 2 weeks of August, and then school starts back. So it took a while to get myself started. It was a little slower start than I would have liked, but it was worth it. You're going to work long hours. There's absolutely nothing. I've worked before 84 hours a week. One thing I can tell you around this area, and I would imagine most schools in most areas and most students, these kids live and die by these drive times, and there's class times because they want their permit, they want freedom. It's a self-rite of passage, and things of that nature. So they're wanting it now. So there's very little time off. As I mentioned in previous videos, I had 17 days off in 2021, and that's not exaggeration. I took 2 days off at Easter, 2 days off during the year to go on a vacation, another vacation, 2 days off, and then 2 days off for Christmas, and then sporadically I had a day off here or there, maybe due to bad weather. So you're not going to get much time off, but then again, if you go with the accomplishment part of it, it's well worth it. Okay. The next section was side hustle. Okay. Some people want to do this as a side hustle, and I would imagine that would work. However, I'm going to give you some pros and cons to both. I feel like the side hustle is going to be a lot longer process for you. You will get more discouraged more. But anyway, there is some pros. To be honest with you, the pros are to me the same as starting the business for a full-time venture. Okay, um, it's pretty much the same. You got business expense, startup, and things of that nature, and being in business. I'm not going to really go over a lot with that because I just did a full disclosure there for a full time. However, there are some cons that I see personally. You may find some more, you may find less. I don't know. Expense, you still have the same kind of expense. So if I was doing this business as a side hustle, I'm looking at still $8,000. Just because it's a side hustle, you still have to pay and go to the course, the 80-hour course, and it's still a process. Um, it's well worth it, but it's still a process. Lower profits, whereas may have 30 to 25 students here. If I was doing this as a side hustle, and granted, when I was starting, it felt like a side hustle because it took me a while to get my name out there. I may have one student, I may have two students, I may have three. The very first class, I had one. Okay, so it's a slower profit margin. If you have mechanical problems, let's say you got to get new tires, new brakes, new O2 sensor, or whatever, that could either be profit before you get started. Parents, still that same thing with the parents, both pros and cons. Slower start. If you're doing it as a side hustle, it's going to take you a lot slower. When I was full-time committed, the year I just told you about, I was in the red until January of the following year. Okay, and then I called up and that point forward. Okay, I would imagine by you doing a side hustle and maybe one student here, one student there, $100 here, $400 there, whatever. It's going to take you a lot longer to build your rapport with students. It's going to take word of mouth. Still going to be a good thing for you, both word of mouth. But if you're only doing one student this week, let's just say, well, that one student may tell someone, which is great, and you'll get that business. But if you did 20 students, just imagine if 20 students told one person. There's 20 more people that know about you. Whereas that one student may tell one person about you. That's one person. So I've got 20 people that know about me as a full-time commitment versus one person know about it. So it's going to be a lot slower. As I mentioned, I was in the red January, so I would imagine if that was the same held true for me now with everything, the expense and everything, I would imagine it would carry deep into that following year. My red, my profit line. That there again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not, telling you exactly how your business will be, your area, your demographics. You may start right off a part-time side gig and be perfectly fine. Well, you still got a lot of hours to work. It just depends on how hard you want to work. The more you work, the more you'll get rewarded. Okay, may take a lot longer, as I said before, but it might take a lot longer. You may get discouraged because, let's say, you had a student and they paid you $300. Okay, but then you had the brakes go out on you. You had to buy new tires, and you had I don't know, some computer problem. You had to buy a new laptop, something like that. I mean, you may make $300. Great, that's wonderful, but you may have three or four big expenses that you weren't ready for. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't, but you might spend $1,200. Well, if you keep doing that over a period of time, you won't make it because your outgo is a lot more than your income, and so that may play a part in it. unless you've got a deep reserve like investments or things like that you can pull from until your business gets up and running, and certainly people do that. Not every second is profitable, but but there again, if you're only telling, if only one person is telling one person, like your student that you just completed today, let's say, and they only tell one person, then your chances of anybody else hearing about you are slim. Okay. Once people find out that this is for the side hustle, that you're not available to be booked, maybe you've got other things going on, and that's good. But once people realize that, hey, I called Metrolina and they're booked so far out, or their attitude toward me wasn't like I thought it should be. Okay, what they'll do is they'll go on social media and they will bury you on social media. Okay, once they bury you on social media, it's hard to come back. Okay, they'll tell their people. They'll say, "Oh, who did you use? Who did you call? What happened?" And then once they tell you, then that one person tells one person, tells one person, tells one person, and before you know it, no, your phone's not ringing. There's no emails in the box, and there's no payment going through your website. Okay. Once again, it's along with startup competition. Let's skip over to startup, as I just mentioned. Competition. This is the last minute one here. Depending on your metropolitan area, there's a lot of competition, and it's due to population. Some of your bigger metropolitan areas of 2 or 3 million, yeah, there may be 30, 40 driving schools. But if you find out you're doing side hustle, if you don't answer the phone correctly, as far as could get to them, or at least make an effort to get to them, they're calling somebody else. They got 39 other people to call in their region. So you'll never get that sale. And you may not want it, but you'll never get it. Okay? So the competition is fierce. I told you the competition, as far as startups, stuff like that, you may be in your year 1, and where I'm in year 6. There's a driving school here in my local community that's been in business since 1991. So obviously, a lot of rapport throughout the community. He's probably did this particular company. He's probably working on grandkids. They probably did the parents and the grandkids, and now, because they've been in business for over 30 some years. And then there's another one here that, say, I'm on 6. They're probably on year 8. So they've got their rapport. And then there's another company where I'm on year 6. They're probably on year 4. Okay, and so that's fine. But see, because I've got my rapport built up because I'm doing it full time, I don't even really know that the other competitions around. I'm so busy with my business trying to keep everybody going that it's funny because I'm so busy with it that I don't even recognize my competition, because I know they're there, I know what they charge, I know what I charge, and things of that nature. But there's so much volume that I don't even worry about them. I've got too much going on to worry about my competition. But if you have a side hustle, the phone rings and they don't answer, you don't answer, or you do answer and say, "Well, I ain't got time for you." I'm paraphrasing. Hopefully, you won't say that to a caller. To book somewhere else, well, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to bury you on social media, because the competition is going to come in like a bunch of sharks and grab the bait, okay, which is the student. And then, to be honest with you, if that's what you desire for a side hustle, that's fine. I'm not saying it once again. I just know from me and what I couldn't see as being in the business for a number of years, that a side hustle, there's so many negatives, so many cons, that be honest with you, I wouldn't do this as a side hustle because you're really putting yourself out there to fail. But that's me personally. You may disagree, and that's fine. You can leave a comment. Um, Please like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. Thank you and have a great day.